Oh, hey everybody. This week on Ask Kristen, I'm talking about taking friendship down a notch. This week's Ask Kristen question is coming from 99 Lead Pencils, who wants to know, I have a friend who's gotten increasingly negative, easily frustrated, and selfish over the years. I've known her for 12 years and we used to be best friends. Now that I'm older and wiser, I see that she's not very good at being a friend when it really counts. How can I downgrade my friend without completely shutting her out or ruining the relationship? First of all, let me express my condolences. You have so much invested. I mean, you said that you've known this person for 12 years and now she is kind of breaking your heart a little bit. And I especially wanted to talk about this question today because I think it's something a lot of us can relate to, especially when it comes to these girl friendships. Guys, not to say that your friendships are not equally important and sometimes fraught with challenging emotion. But I've heard from so many Stuff Mom Never Told You fans who say they intentionally aren't friends with girls because they've been burned in the past. On the one hand, I think it's really important for us to know how to and take action with flushing toxic relationships out of our lives. Or if it's someone you've invested a lot of time in and maybe you just need a timeout. That brings us to this whole friendship downgrade question. You have a friend and it's not necessarily toxic, but maybe you've changed or she's changed, something has changed in the dynamic of your relationship and you just need to step away from it for a while. Especially if you can do that with some thoughtfulness, you're exercising that important self-awareness that does ultimately make you not only a better friend to yourself, but also a better friend to other people. Honestly, I think a little bit of friendship fade out can happen. Don't leave their communication unanswered. You can brush it off or postpone it or just tell them you're too busy, whatever you want to do, but respond to it. If you notice, especially thanks to social media these days, that something important has happened to that friend, some kind of milestone, whether it's a birthday or a job promotion, acknowledge that too. That lets that person know that you're still thinking of them. If that friend reaches out to you concerned about having not talked to you or seen you in a while, give an explanation. Maybe let them know that you're busy or that you are just taking care of yourself right now and that at some point you'll hang out. Studies have backed this up. Girls hold their friends to really, really high standards, which is a really sweet thing. That's part of the really special thing about girl friendships is just how tight they can be. But that also makes us vulnerable to having our feelings hurt or being disappointed if a friend doesn't meet up to our sometimes too lofty standard. The older that I've gotten, the more important it's been for my friendships, my really close friendships, to acknowledge and accept that we're all constantly changing. The closeness, the proximity, the intimacy of friendships can ebb and flow over time. And just because the quality of friendships might change, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily doomed. I've also had friendships that have kind of gone through that period of stasis when from the outside it looks like we aren't friends anymore at all. But then you circle back together and you realize you had these great things there and you pick back up. I guess what I'm saying is that experience has taught me to trust that friendships that are meant to hold over the long term are gonna hold. Now I wanna know from you, dear friends, is it possible to downgrade a friendship without ruining it? What are some things that you've done to manage difficult friendships? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you have any questions that are or are not related to this topic, ask them. This is where you do it. Thanks for everybody who watched and commented on last week's Ask Kristen video on talking about STDs. Are you clean? Sienna Barlow said, I think asking the question, are you clean, is kind of disrespectful. It's implying that if you do have an STD, you're dirty. That was an issue that a lot of people raised about the title of that video saying, are you clean? Which, granted, I was borrowing that language from the Ask Kristen question itself, but that is an excellent point that we need to reframe the conversation about STDs and STIs away from this whole misleading and stigmatizing clean, dirty dichotomy. Abby, 1982, also said, my partner and I fell madly in love, and on our third date he told me he had genital herpes. He was nearly in tears as he told me because he thought for sure I would tell him I didn't want to be with him, as he had unwittingly spread it to his last partner and she broke up with him over it. I told him it was okay and we would figure something out. In order to enable a sex life for us, he read up on HSV and we both had full STD blood tests done. What he discovered from his history of symptoms was that he didn't actually have genital herpes, but oral herpes, which is extremely common. He and I have had a full sex life for years, and we simply take care to minimize my exposure. I feel the disclosure is a mark of a good person, and if someone tells you they have an STD, you should at least talk about it before immediately dismissing that person as a potential partner. There are all different ways to have a full sex life and still be safe, even with diseases far worse than HSV. And thank you so much, Abby, for sharing that story, because we so often think of STDs and STIs and just herpes in general as some kind of sexual death sentence. If you are a person with an STD, you're still a person and you can be a great partner and also have a fantastic sex life. With that, dear friends, let me know all of your questions below so I can give you some answers.